We've got a lovely morning, nice blue sky. There's even something up there that's really bright that we don't see very much of. However, a lot of heavy rain overnight last night means that the ground and the pitches are completely saturated. So rather than risk making a mess of any pitches today, we'll keep all machines off, including the robot and the marker. Let them dry up a bit, because sometimes, although it looks an absolutely fantastic day and there's a real urgency to get something done, you just end up making more mess than doing good. So let it dry out for a bit, stick some lines on for the weekend, and then games will hopefully be on. First job of the day, stick the old Verti Drain on the tractor and take that up to the yard and park it up as the new one's arrived, and this will have done its last job for us. Right, it's on and good to go. I think this is the 4th year I've had this Verti Drain now, since buying it second hand off another contractor. It's been absolutely fantastic. It's been worth its weight in gold. I'll just get that little flat disc marker back. Yeah, it's done a great job. It's done so many pitches as part of our regular maintenance and our summer renovations. It's allowed us to really push that side of the business, meaning that we can justify investing in a new one. It's had various new bits in our time. We've done a few of the cranks, the draw rods, all sorts of bearings in there, and although she looks a little bit tatty, she still does a fantastic job. Was out only last week or the week before doing pitches. As I say, just wanting to push the business a bit further with the Verti Drain side of things. I want that comfort of reliability of a nice new machine, a warranty to back it up, and hopefully no breakdowns and downtime. It is going to go up for sale. Got a couple of people already interested, and whether they decide to use it for parts for existing machines or put it to work themselves, I'm sure it'll be a good purchase for somebody. It's been a great purchase for me. I'm in one sense sad to see it go, but in the other one, really excited to get going with a new one. And here's the new one, absolute brand spanker. Not even got its tines in yet. I'll be doing that shortly. Sign of a good machine is when very little changes and there's not a massive amount different between this new one and the old one. Since it came on Monday, I've put these lights onto the back of it so that when we're travelling down the road, as you can see there with the Verti Drain lifted up and tilted forward to keep it clear of the ground, you can't see the rear lights on the tractor, so that just keeps everybody visible and safe. So that was done by drilling through the back there and then run the wires up the top. Zip tying them through and then bring it down into a wire that'll clip into the tractor. A brand new set of 16-inch long inch diameter tines there to install, and when you've got the solid tines in, you have these support plates which bolt into the bottom of each of the heads just there. That'll be the job that I get on with now. So this is the tool tube that you get on the front of the machine, and inside there are the bolts that will mount the plates that we've just had a look at. Okay, user manual, 30mm spanner, a little case with some more spanners in, and a little handle that allows you to open and close the bleed valve for the hydraulic rams that raise the height. Right, lifted up the top cover so I can get access to the heads to fit these plates and the tines. The first thing I'm going to do is use one of the tines just to pivot the heads up so that I can get easier access for bolting on these plates rather than trying to work upside down all the time. Next job, two of these bolts, they go into that hole there and that hole there on each head, and that will secure the plate in like that. So I'll work my way along, tie them up by hand and then nip along and buzz them up with a windy gun. Next job on each head is to install the tines. So there's two that go behind where these larger bolts go. So we'll undo these. They're a 19mm spanner or socket. Loosen off the locking nut here. Tine can go in, tighten up the pin and then lock it back off, and we're good to go. Easier to access the heads when you flip them back down for putting in the tines, so I've just turned those back over. All those pins now are loose so the tine can slot up into its hole correctly, and then we can tighten them up. On the top of the tine there's a little indentation, you can just about make it out there, I think. Try and get in like that, there you go. And the idea is that the pin will sit in the head and the bolts will tighten into that and secure it in place, and then like we say, that 24mm locking nut tightens up to stop it vibrating loose. We'll be dipping the end of each tine into a bit of copper grease just to help it fit in a little bit easier. The tines are all there ready to go in now. full set of new tines are installed. A couple of them, because it's obviously new and there's paint on, it's a very snug fit. So a couple of them I'd noticed that one of the tines was a little bit lower than the other, so I had to just loosen them off again and make sure they're all the way in. That'll be something to keep an eye on when it's in operation. But now, tighten those up with the guns, so I just need to go along the 24mm spanner and just tighten off those lock nuts, and then we're done and dusted. So tines are all in now, all the little lock nuts are tightened up. So although it's still too wet to get anywhere near a pitch with this today, when the weather does improve and the ground conditions mean we can get going, we are good to go straight away. The last bit of a setup job that I need to do is measure the length of the PTO shaft when it's at working depth from the machine to the tractor, to ensure that it's cut to the right length, it's not too short and bows, or it's not too long and bends against itself. But it's easier to do that when the machine's set up, as it will be working, and also as it will be transported, so we can work out the correct measurements from that. It might be a little bit different if we were to do it as it just sits on the back of the tractor with things not set up as they do when working. The last bit of a setup job that I need to do is measure the length of the PTO shaft when it's at working depth from the machine to the tractor, to ensure that it's cut to the right length, it's not too short and bows, or it's not too long and bends against itself. But it's easier to do that when the machine's set up, as it will be working, and also as it will be transported, so we can work out the correct measurements from that. It might be a little bit different if we were to do it as it just sits on the back of the tractor with things not set up as they do when working. Now the rear roller's back in its fixed position for parking up. You can just see that some of the tines, once the Verti Drain's flat on the ground and horizontal, will catch the ground, so that's where you just go along and turn those heads back up. And that means that when you park it up, you're not at risk of catching any of the tines, bending them or causing any damage. Obviously when you come to start it up, you need to make sure that you've folded them down, otherwise you end up with those tines going through your top cover. And there it is, our brand new 7626, all the tines and plates installed. Just got that PTO shaft to measure and cut, and then it'll be out in action. Hopefully the weather forecast is right and it stays good next week, fingers crossed.